are his father.
All right! Thank you.
When it comes to 31-year-old Huanaki McGraw, it has been determined by this court, Mr. McGraw, you are not her father.
This lady, despite Brooks' certainty, doubts his paternity due to her past indiscretions and the involvement of another man during critical times in their relationship. And then, there is a woman who, despite Freeman's doubts and conflicting information, stands firm in her belief that he is her father. Here are two bizarre moments where DNA tests revealed unexpected family ties.
18-year-old son, Mr. McDonald.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Gooley, you admit you cheated on Mr. Brooks all those years ago and are here today to prove to Mr. Brooks that he is not the father of your son.
Yes, Your Honor.
Both of you are desperate for these answers because you've recently been reunited with Mr. McDonald, whom you lost custody of at the tender age of 1. Mr. Brooks, why do you believe Mr. McDonald is your son?
The day he was born, I took her to the hospital. I drove her to the hospital.
Mr. Brooks is trying to prove he is the father of Miss Gooley's 18-year-old son, Mr. McDonald. They had a relationship, but Miss Gooley admits she cheated on Mr. Brooks and wants to prove he isn't the father. Both want answers because they recently reunited with Mr. McDonald after losing custody of him when he was 1 year old. Mr. Brooks strongly believes Mr. McDonald is his son. He recalls the day Mr. McDonald was born vividly. He took Miss Gooley to the hospital and was present during the birth. When the baby cried and wouldn't stop, Mr. Brooks asked the doctors to give him the baby. As soon as he held him and spoke to him, the baby quieted down. Mr. Brooks felt an instant connection and knew he was the father. This made the audience applaud. Miss Gooley and Mr. Brooks had a 10-year relationship. Mr. Brooks believed it was committed, but Miss Gooley admits she was not faithful. She allowed Mr. Brooks to think he was the father throughout her pregnancy. She did this because Mr. Brooks wanted to be there for the child, even though she had another man around. The judge asks about this other man, and Miss Gooley says he was a friend who was there for her when Mr. Brooks wasn't. Mr. Brooks disagrees and insists he was always there. This causes some tension in the courtroom, with Mr. Brooks getting upset and needing to apologize for his language. Miss Gooley tries to explain that the other man was supportive during the times Mr. Brooks wasn't around, which Mr. Brooks disputes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Without using any protection?
Yes, Your Honor.
When she told you she was pregnant, there was no doubt in your mind that you were the father?
No, one of the greatest days of my life when she told me she was pregnant, and I just wanted to be a great father. And I got pictures.
Let me see those pictures, please, sir.
He shows photos he's carried for 17 years, convinced he's Mr. McDonald's biological father. Mr. Brooks recalls the day DFCS took the kids away. He remembers January 23rd vividly when police and DFCS arrived, taking the children. Miss Gooley claims Mr. Brooks called DFCS, but he denies it vehemently. Tensions rise as they argue about who called DFCS. Miss Gooley accuses Mr. Brooks, who insists it wasn't him and blames her for being out while he cared for the kids and paid bills. The court discusses their past struggles with drugs. Mr. Brooks jokes about Miss Gooley's past. They deny current drug use, but admit to past issues that led to their children being taken from their home. The judge questions if Mr. Brooks could care for the children if he were the biological father, and if Miss Gooley's drug issues affected her ability to parent.
He's the father. If he was the father, my mother was willing to pay for him to legitimize my son, then why didn't he do it? Because he was scared of that DNA test because he is not the dad.
I did the paperwork myself. I went and paid for it.
Okay, well, why is he not legitimized?
They came and got him. This is the day I took the pic. This is the last day.
So this is a picture of the exact day.
Miss Gooley questions Mr. Brooks' fatherhood claims, alleging he never legitimized their son despite her mother's offer to pay for it. Mr. Brooks defends himself, asserting he handled the paperwork and accuses Miss Gooley of lying.
All I need to know. I want to know. First, Mr. Brooks states that he believes he's your biological father.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe Mr. Brooks is your father?
Yes, ma'am.
You do? That's been your understanding your whole life?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
McDonald confirms in court that he believes Mr. Brooks is his biological father. Despite Miss Gooley's suggestion that another man could be his father, Mr. McDonald's steadfast belief is in Mr. Brooks. He recalls an awkward reunion with his mother initially, but notes it improved as they talked. The courtroom tension escalates as Mr. Brooks reacts strongly to the mention of another potential father, dismissing the idea emphatically. Humor surfaces when Mr. Brooks reacts to learning about someone contacting Mr. McDonald on Facebook claiming to be his father. This elicits laughter from the audience. Miss Gooley stands by her belief that Mr. Brooks isn't Mr. McDonald's biological father, citing past experiences where she didn't conceive despite their intimacy.
Right in front, right up front of the young man.
Mr. Brooks trying to make me look like I'm such a bad person.
That's a lie.
But Miss Gooley, let's really.
I mean, I had
no,
to do
hold
what
on,
I had
hold
to
on.
take care of my kids.
Hold on,
and
hold
that's what I was doing.
Hold on. Before you begin to say Mr. Brooks said this, he said this, you admitted in court. Let's just keep it real. You admitted that you told him that he was the father and strung him along
I did, because
for quite a long time.
At this point, tensions run high as Judge Lake confronts Miss Gooley about her past actions. She admits to stringing Mr. Brooks along for a long time before acknowledging he might not be the father, which visibly frustrates Mr. Brooks. He defends himself, insisting he has always shown care for Demarion, despite their disagreements. Judge Lake observes Mr. Brooks's emotional turmoil when discussing the day Demarion was taken from them, highlighting his deep desire to be recognized as Demarion's biological father. She questions Demarion about his feelings towards Mr. Brooks and the possibility of another man being his father.
You are his father.
Thank you. Feel real good. The only blood I have. Oh, God. Thank you, Judge. Really,
You're welcome, sir.
And finally, Mrs. Lake announces that Mr. Brooks is indeed Demarion's biological father, prompting cheers from the audience. Mr. Brooks, visibly emotional, expresses joy and gratitude, while Judge Lake shares in the celebratory moment with humor and warmth. But now, before we move on to our next case, don't forget to give this video a like and also hit subscribe button below for more upcoming content.
That's why we're here. This is why we love to come to work every day, right, Jerome?
Absolutely.
Miss Gooley, are you happy for your son?
Yes, I am.
Good.
I'm more happy for Fred.
A lot of the anger I saw in your eyes, when I read the result, I could see that kind of melt away.
He's my friend.
I think that is such a great way to start. I say it all the time, your past does not have to define you, it can refine you. You've been very forthcoming with her about this fact. You state you are absolutely certain you can't be your father based on the simple truth that you were away on military assignment when her mother conceived.
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
Ms. McGraw, please tell the court, why do you believe Mr. McGraw Jr. is your biological father?
That's my mom, that's my dad, and that's my brother here, and then the babies, that's me. So, you can imagine, there's no other way that I can think that someone else is my dad, if I'm presented with a picture like, hey, this is your father.
And then I look on this original birth certificate.
I never saw any of the paperwork. I never saw any of the birth certificates or anything from the hospital. Now, I took her to the hospital when she was having a baby. I was out in the hallway.
In the case of McGraw versus McGraw Jr., the courtroom drama unfolds as Miss McGraw seeks to prove Freeman McGraw Jr. is her biological father. She presents compelling evidence, a family photo and her birth certificate listing Freeman McGraw Jr. as her father. However, Freeman disputes this, claiming he never signed the birth certificate and was away on military duty during her conception. The judge navigates the emotional turmoil, highlighting the complexities of familial relationships and legal documentation. Freeman admits to being in Miss McGraw's life and acknowledges that she was led to believe he was her biological father. Despite doubts expressed by others over the years, Freeman stepped up to care for the children, driven by his sense of responsibility. The courtroom tension rises as Freeman defends his actions, citing his commitment to the family despite not being certain of paternity. Miss McGraw confronts Freeman about why he never requested a DNA test if he doubted her paternity, highlighting the emotional toll of discovering her uncertain parentage as an adult. Lake clarifies that Freeman's name on the birth certificate does not constitute his acknowledgement of paternity, as he did not sign it.
After them 30 days, she wants to take a pregnancy test. And she took it, and I'm like, man, this has got to be crazy, She always had the habit of meeting strange people, to bring them in the house, let them live with us and everything, because I'm gone all the time. So when I come home, or she had a family there, and this lady told me, she says, I never met you before, so I didn't know what type of person that you was. So I'm going to tell you that your girlfriend, she's been sleeping with a guy named Bill.
Really?
Yes. So I confronted him.
Ms. McGraw, I want to know from you, did you ever hear about a guy named Bill?
Never. I have never.
McGraw Jr. recounts his side of the story regarding the conception and relationship with Miss McGraw's mother. He describes being away on military duty and returning to find out about her pregnancy. Freeman expresses skepticism due to his partner's history of having relationships with other men while he was away. He remembered the moment he confronted a man named Bill, who allegedly denied any involvement with Miss McGraw's mother or the child. This revelation adds to Freeman's doubts about paternity, especially since he was not present during conception and had received conflicting information from others. Freeman explains how he tried to leave the relationship multiple times, but was persuaded to stay by Miss McGraw's mother, who insisted he was the only father figure the children knew. Despite moments of doubt and frustration, he returned to try and maintain a family environment for the children.
They arrested me, they put me in handcuffs, they let her go into my pocket, take my keys out of my pocket, take all of my money out of my pocket, and they took me to jail. They did not file any charges on me.
What was her motive for doing that?
For money. She just wanted the money. They let me out of jail, right? My mom turned her back against me, my brothers and sisters did. They say because you had no business bringing that girl up here, knowing that that baby and that little boy was not yours.
How old was Ms. McGraw when you left?
When she was 2 years old.
Later, the story unfolds with poignant details about the relationship between Kawanaki McGraw and Freeman McGraw Jr., whom she believed to be her biological father. Kawanaki recounts the challenges she faced growing up in foster care and the emotional impact of not having her father present during her childhood. Freeman McGraw Jr. explains his side, highlighting moments of doubt about his paternity due to his absence during the conception period and conflicting information he received from others. He describes instances where he tried to leave the relationship but was convinced to stay, partly out of concern for the children's well-being. Kawanaki expresses her frustration at not having her father figure around, especially during her time in foster care. She recalls feeling abandoned and wondering why her father didn't come for her like other children's parents did. Despite these challenges, she emphasizes her close bond with her grandmother, who provided comfort and support during her difficult upbringing.
Somebody's social security number or something where she couldn't find him. So they were like, okay, well, the last place that we knew him to be was in California, and then she passed away. So, I couldn't go from there with anything,
Mr. McGraw, did you hear about any of this? Any of this?
No, ma'am.
Did you know she was in foster care?
No, Your Honor, I did not. Her mom called me when I was in California. She said, I just wanted to just tell you that I'm sorry for all the stuff I've done.
Kawanaki knows her journey through foster care, longing for her father's presence while growing up without him. Her testimony is marked by frustration and a desire for closure, highlighting the hardships she faced due to her uncertain familial status. Freeman McGraw Jr., on the other hand, explains his side, detailing his absence during crucial periods of Kawanaki's life and expressing doubts about his biological connection to her. He recalls receiving conflicting information from Kawanaki's mother and the challenges he faced in maintaining a stable relationship amidst turmoil. The court proceedings include revelations about past confrontations, emotional struggles, and efforts to establish clarity. Both parties express their hopes for resolution, with Kawanaki yearning for a paternal relationship and Freeman seeking to ascertain the truth about his paternity. As the judge prepares to announce the results of the DNA test, tension mounts, and both Kawanaki and Freeman brace themselves for the verdict that could finally provide the closure they seek. The outcome of the DNA test will determine whether Freeman is indeed Kawanaki's biological father, potentially paving the way for a renewed relationship or closure for both parties. As Mrs. Lake reads the DNA results, the courtroom holds its breath, awaiting the moment when the truth will be revealed and the path forward will become clear for Kawanaki and Freeman McGraw Jr.
Mr. McGraw, you are not her father.
That's the story I've been trying to do. I mean, I've been there for her. I still will be there, And she let me.
I'm so sorry. I know that is not what you needed to hear.
Okay. I'll be there for you, okay? Nothing's gonna change, all right? Okay? Nothing's gonna change. I'll be there for you.
After a tense and emotional trial, the judge delivered the verdict. Freeman McGraw Jr. was determined not to be her biological father. The revelation left both Kawanaki and Freeman visibly shaken. Freeman, who had been involved in Kawanaki's life despite doubts about paternity, expressed his continued commitment to supporting her emotionally. He pledged to remain a supportive figure in her life, regardless of the DNA results. Kawanaki's emotional response to the verdict showed the deep impact of the court's decision on her quest for familial identity and closure. Despite the heartbreaking news, Freeman's willingness to continue offering support and his promise to help her search for her biological father provided a glimmer of hope amidst the emotional turmoil. The judge offered counseling and support services to aid her in processing the outcome and navigating her future steps. The courtroom atmosphere, charged with raw emotion and empathy, highlighted the complexities of family dynamics and the quest for personal identity. As the proceedings concluded, Kawanaki's tears reflected the weight of the verdict, yet also hinted at the possibility of a new chapter in her quest for answers. Freeman's commitment to being there for her, despite the biological outcome, emphasized the enduring bond they shared. While the court's decision brought a definitive answer to one question, it also opened doors for Kawanaki to explore further in her search for her biological father. Now, you can write whatever you think about these cases, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more such content. Until then, keep exploring.
This other gentleman, have you heard of his whereabouts?
I'll do whatever I can to help,
I was just going to ask you that.
Yes,
I was going to
ma'am.
say,
Yes.
if she needs your help,
If she do it, I'll be there.
you will help her?
Yes.
Try to identify this
Yes.
person? Thank you for that. Ms. McGraw, I'm very sorry, but we at least have Mr. McGraw agreeing to help you maybe find that other gentleman if you so choose. And we do have counseling for you, and we are here for you if you ever need us again.